You face your own other challenges in the pool and you think coming fourth all of a sudden is like a failure. You've failed a lot of people, you've failed a lot of yourself, you failed the country, and you don't have those right building blocks around you helping to build you back up to yourself. It's a hard slog.
Welcome to the countdown of the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games on the Sunshine Coast. As we mark this exciting milestone, it's time to reflect on the power of sport to bring people together and create meaningful change. Over the next decade, we'll be witnessing the transformation of our region as it prepares to host some of the world's greatest athletes. But it's not just about the games themselves, it's about the opportunities and legacies that come with it. So join us as we embark on the journey and explore the impact that the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games will have on the Sunshine Coast. This is the Podium Podcast.
G'day everybody and welcome to the Podium Podcast. Today we've got a real treat. We've got a flag bearer, that's right. Paralympic flag bearer Brendan Hall joins us today. Brendan, only just a couple of weeks before you go to Paris to do battle with the best of the world. Welcome to the Podium Podcast, mate. This will be a highlight.
Thanks very much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes. So how does it feel? You got to be bestowed your 5th Olympic Paralympic Games, your 5th Games, and you're going in there carrying the flag. Was that a big decision? Because most swimmers don't carry the flag, mate. We're usually the first week at competition. So what made the decision the right one for you?
I think for me, it's just, as a swimmer and as a Paralympic athlete, as any athlete really, you get bestowed this big opportunity, and you think about it for a second and you're like, you can literally rattle off the amount of people you yourself would know who's carried the flag into a Paralympic or an Olympic Games, and you can't get any more than one hand off the top of your head. Like, obviously the list is quite long, but you just all of a sudden think, nah, stuff it, let's do it. No matter, regardless of like when you're swimming, what day we start, what day my main event is, obviously, but no. A lot of consideration went into it, a lot of chats with my coach and the chef de mission and the head coach of the team, all that sort of stuff. We were kind of just making sure that I would have the best possible opportunity to recover in order to get up and race on day one. And my coach was like, stuff it, whatever energy you have carrying that flag in for the country, take it, and when you wake up the next morning, put it into your swim. Technically, you've already won your gold medal. So just put that energy that you've had and take it into your swim. And I was like, when he said it like that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have about 100 million more amps going through me when I race on that day one, purely because I've had that euphoric moment already to begin with.
What did you think when you first got the news and they offered you that selection to lead the entire Australian team at the Games? What was that like? Can you remember the moment?
I remember the phone call, and I don't know if I'm allowed to, but instantly I was like, shit, really? You sure you've got the right person? Like, I just thought there was so many other people more deserving than me. And it's something that it took me a while to sort of grasp and sort of come to terms with. It took me about a week to sort of accept the fact that no, this is, something that I do deserve a little bit of. And I'm pretty sure when they actually crashed me in my training after my training session down in Sydney, that I had completely no idea what I was actually down there for. I'm pretty sure I swore again along those lines, and then afterwards I sort of came to the line of like, oh, this is just as exciting as it was being in the delivery room for the birth of my first son. And I was like, I had sort of worded that correctly. I was like, close to just as exciting. So, that's the feeling that you kind of get. And to know that I'm sort of doing it with Madison, who is also going to her 5th Games, and we both had our first Games in Beijing and little nobodies back then. It just makes it all more exciting.
You have this beautiful humility about the way you go about things. We were just talking off air then about how you felt like you maybe weren't deserving of this honour. But you know, you're a Paralympian. You've got people looking at home who have just been inspired by the Olympics and they're about to see you racing. How do you, I guess, then get out of your head to, ignore all of that and then focus on what you've got to do on that, first day?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's more like I'm still in the middle of the trenches pretty much, and I know that I've got a job to do, and that job is to get up and race and represent my country, regardless of what I have to do the day before, leading in the day after. It doesn't matter. I'm still getting up and having this fantastic opportunity to swim for my country, and that's pretty much what I've been doing since 2007. And it's not something that I take lightly, and it's something that I really sort of take to heart. And I'm just a kid that was born in Nambour and who's lived his life enjoying swimming, loving getting in the water and swimming. So the fact that I get to sort of do something that I love and represent my country at the same time, that's like enjoying the icing on the cake. So I'm just really going to sort of take everything I've got and use it and make sure that when I do get up on that first day after everything that sort of happened, I've remembered why I started this dream in the first place. So it's to get up and swim for Australia.
5 Paralympics though. You've got a child and you've got one on the way. Is that just amazing to see your children watch you as an athlete for Australia, given the fact that you've got this great history and now you've got children that you're raising to potentially one day be an Olympian or Paralympian themselves? Yeah,
I think I was kind of like, flirting with the idea of giving it all in after Tokyo. Just wasn't really, my heart wasn't sort of disappeared a little bit. But, I had a child and I had Bodhi, and, my wonderful wife, Britt, has been supportive for the last, I can't number of years. We've been married for 5, but we've been together for a lot longer than that. So I sort of thought about it and I was like, no, I'm going to have this one opportunity to kind of just introduce my little fella into this world that I've been living in for the past 16 years. And I've already sort of seen the impact it's kind of had on him, just with him going to swimming or coming to swimming and watch me swim at trials and everything, watching me swim at World Championships last year. And he just, no matter where I come, he's always like, go dada, and that's that sort of stuff. And he just like loved it even more at trials. So to know that he's sort of going to be there and he's like, me just swimming is going to have an impact on him. Technically, I've won already. And hopefully introducing him into that world of Paralympics, he can sort of, grow up and remember how much of an impact it had on him, and then hopefully also spread the word of, the Paralympic movement. But not only that, the Olympic spirit as well is just like, it's infectious. So hopefully, when he's a bit older, he can make whatever decisions he wants and tell his younger siblings all about it and help spread the word.
Well, he's going to thank you because on trials, you're standing there, you got him, he's in a yellow beret, you've got a baguette and a boarding pass.
Yeah.
So he's going to thank you for that yellow beret.
No, he thanks me for it every day. It still sits there in his room and he's like, you threw this at me, Dada. I was like, yes, I did. It was for you, but it doesn't fit Dad's head. He's like, me like it. And then so, he enjoys his croissants. He enjoys his baby chinos. So I'm sure he's going to fit in right in Paris.
Mate, you got a great sense of humour about Bodhi and Britt and the way you go about your business. Just tell everybody watching the podcast how it happened for you. You got the chicken pox when you were 6. It led to some DVT in your leg, and that caused a cardiac arrest, I believe.
Yeah. So at the age of 6, this was before like the chickenpox vaccine was kind of like part of your mandatory immunizations, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, I got it when I was 6, and that led to a lot of complications. That led to a DVT, and my parents were sort of given this decision that like, all right, to get rid of the DVT, here's the blood thinners, all that sort of stuff. Hopefully that works. So they tried that. Fortunately, it wasn't working, and in the process, lost me for about 27 and a half, 29 minutes or whatever. And they were like, all right, it hasn't worked. Do we want to try and risk it again and see if it works, or do we just want to try and amputate through the knee and hopefully he'll have a long and happy life? So thankfully, Mum and Dad were forced with it tough, but don't imagine how it went for them, but they made the right decision. Otherwise, probably wouldn't be sitting here today. So I'm really grateful for the fact that they sort of gave me that opportunity to sort of go and live life to the fullest back then. And, you know, the year after I was exposed to Sydney 2000, the Olympics and the Paralympics. And, I saw Brendan Burkett carry the flag. I saw him get up and swim some freestyle and win a medal for the country. And I was like, as a 7-year-old, you're like, oh, and then missing my leg, I was like, I could probably do that one day. So that's sort of where it all sparked off for me. And yeah, I haven't really looked back. I just sort of went full steam ahead into making sure nothing really stopped me. And that's kind of the way it's kind of been. So yeah, and I've been with my wife, Britt, since 2011, 2012 or something like that. So she came to London.
You need to get that right, mate.
A while though. So she came to London to watch me, and we've been together for a while. We ended up moving into a place together in 2017. She's like, yeah, you can keep swimming for as, I'm not going to stop you. And I was like, I don't want to stop her from doing her dreams as well. So we found a way to balance everything and make it all work. So she's pretty supportive, and she's also like, well, I'm keen for a trip to Paris. So if you want to go for it, you can go for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she's a girl, all right. Let me ask you a question. Seeing 2000, seeing Brenda Burkett, Maddie Cowdery and stuff like that, you then improved your swimming so much that you became teammates and you hung around them. And it's something that I get. I don't know about you, Franny, but when I'm around Steve Holland, I turn into a giddy schoolboy again because I remember him in 1976 and things like that. And so when I come close to my heroes or be associated with my heroes, it sends me straight back to when I was like a young boy, even though I'm 55. Does it the same as you? Like, do you sometimes pinch yourself when you really got rolling and you're making the green and gold team and your first team was the Arafura Games in 06?
Yeah.
And then you start rolling and you become, that hardcore part of the Australian Paralympic team and you're surrounded by Maddie Cowdery.
Yeah.
Your Brendan Burkett is still investing in you. Did it feel surreal?
Yeah, it was kind of one of those moments that I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I was exposed to Cowdery, Sam Bramham, Peter Leake in 2005 at a school national championships in Melbourne, and I saw them race. And this was after they'd had a quite successful Athens 04 campaign, and I saw them race. And I was like, oh, I've got to pull my finger out of my ass if I wanted to, race with these guys, that sort of stuff.
It was a wake-up call.
Yeah, fast forward 2 more years, and we're at trials and they're all competing. Like, these guys are like, they were the big guns for Australia, and I was like the little one, the young guy coming through, hopefully having a shot at distance. And took my shot, and luckily I made it. And you get welcomed into that team room on team announcement night, and I'm in there with like Ricardo, Mafati, Steve Osborne, Sam Bramham, Peter Leake, Matt Cowdery, Matt Levy, and these are the guys that I grew up like watching in Athens. And it's just like, oh wow, like shit just got real. And it's like, oh, I was like, I met Matt and I met Sam, and I was like, oh yeah, hi, I'm Brendan. And it's just like, oh god, so like awkward, and you don't know what to really do as a 14-year-old, but then you don't realise the bonds and the friendships that you form once you make that team. And yeah, like, what are we, like almost 16 years down the track, and I still chat to these guys on a regular basis. And, Matt Cowdery was my MC at my wedding. So my best mate who lives down the road was my roommate from 2008 until 2022 when he retired, Blake Cochran. So it's just amazing the connections that you make on a team and how long lasting they are. And like Brendan Burkett was in charge of he was head of our like sports science and all that sort of stuff in 08. And, I'm getting feedback from him on how to improve my stroke, how to improve my training a little bit. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Thank you. I'll use that. Like, it's like, and like I knew how important he was as a professor and everything at the uni. So I was lapping everything up as I could go. And so, yeah, you don't realize how much of an impact that a new team makes on you until you're a bit further down the track, and then all these guys start finishing up, and then you realize you're the last man standing and start questioning whether, we'll give it one more crack.
We're just on that. Will this be your last Paralympics? Are you going to push on till Brisbane?
Yeah, look, like everyone's been asking that, and it's like, Paralympics swimming-wise, yeah, it's going to be my last one. Like, swimming's a hard slog, especially like 400 metres, and I enjoy doing the distance stuff. So it's a lot of work on the shoulders, and tap wood that the shoulders are all still holding together with everything. So I'm happy with that. Like my goal after this time round will be like to try and figure out a way to work my way back to the team as support staff once I finish my degree in physiotherapy. So if that's the pathway I'm going to go, that's fine by me. But, the thought to go to another sport and possibly, have the opportunity to compete in Brisbane 2032 is something that has also flickered into my mind. But
What are we thinking?
I don't know what sport yet, but
Shooting? Clunk, clunk. You don't have to be too fit for shooting.
What about
Clunk, clunk.
kayaking? You've got the build
maybe
for
like
kayaking.
paddling,
Yeah.
kayaking, something like that.
Are you
It
serious?
would be kind of fun to have a crack at. I know like wheelchair basketball wouldn't be too bad either, but I know the list to get into that is pretty competitive. So I was like, surely paddling wouldn't be too bad to have a crack at if
Yeah,
I
how
was
hard
to
paddling
think
is.
about it. But yeah, my main goal was to be like, if I could be, a swimming team physio in 2032, helping athletes achieve their dreams and win their medals, then, that's a tick for me.
You do that a lot, mate. You inspire a lot of people around you by the way you carry yourself, your dedication, your willingness to wear the green and gold, but also your willingness to engage. I know you got a university degree in exercise sports science.
Yeah.
And you're doing your physio. And again, it seems like you're wanting to have that influence maybe that Brendan Burkett had over you when he was the head of the sports medicine part of the team and then the team manager and stuff like that. So if you're not going to go paddling
Yeah.
or shooting or breakdancing or whatever the sport is you choose, could you see yourself in that role, following in the footsteps of Brendan?
Yeah, I think like ultimately, if I could somehow figure out a way to get to that role, that'd be sensational. As in how I see the pathway in order to get to that role, honestly, couldn't tell you. Wouldn't have a clue. I'd just be
You're a bit
happy.
busy at the moment.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. But like I said, I'm not really one to sort of step towards leadership in a way. So I would happily be, take that role as like, oh yeah, I'm the team physio in the trenches with all the athletes, helping them work every day, all that sort of stuff, instead of trying to manage everyone's
Right.
role, that sort of, and like, all right, the performance guidelines and all that sort of stuff.
Well,
I'd be happy to like try and learn all that and go down that pathway, but I also think like I've been in the trenches so long that as an athlete, I know that I think I would have hopefully a good impact on athletes in the trenches with themselves if they were, trying to get through the fight at the same
You'd
time.
have plenty to offer, mate. You'd have plenty to offer. And probably the smallest amount would be the physio part. You'd have so much to offer in terms of perspective and support and groundedness and mindfulness and bringing an athlete along in their journey like you are right now, just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah.
To be able to be in that space and lend that support, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be pretty exciting too.
We talked briefly before about you starting to be really interested in swimming and sport at 6. It's pretty young for that. But also, I guess we're seeing in these Olympics a lot of athletes who have had mental health issues have dropped out of the sport and then come back in.
Yeah.
For Paralympians, how is that a similar thing? Is there obviously you've got challenges already, and then you've got the sport. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, look, it's a tough one because, like, as a Paralympian, you find ways that you've already overcome a lot of crap in your life as it is, and it's still witness it every day. And it's funny, just recently over the weekend, I've had an older generation, and I completely understand where they're coming from because it's not something they're used to seeing, just come up to me and they're like, oh, you're doing really well, love. I'm really good to see you out and about. It's exciting. You keep on walking, mate. You're doing well. I'm like, oh, she's like, can I give you a hug? You're inspiring for others. You should know that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. It's just awkward when you've been doing something like that since you're 6. And so it's not natural. And then you face your own other challenges in the pool and you think coming fourth all of a sudden is like a failure. You've failed a lot of people. You've failed a lot of yourself. You failed the country. And yeah, it's kind of why I was just like, nah, I'm done with it. I've had enough. Just took me a while to kind of, I guess, sort of, you get all that help where you want to get help, and I'm lucky I have a really supportive wife, and she really helps me through it. I have really supportive teammates. They sort of spoke to me about it, and then I guess when you have kids, although your perspectives on everything changes as well. So it's not like easy when you have that slump to sort of just, pick up the pieces and march forward. If you don't have those right building blocks around you helping to build you back up to yourself, it's a hard slog. And yeah, for me, it was a matter of just coming back and kind of remembering, like, all right, so why did I get into swimming in the first place? Like, why was it so important to me? And for me, it was just a matter of like, well, first of all, I started swimming because it helped me escape from reality. Like, bullies couldn't talk to me. No one could have a go at me. I looked at it as everyone was on an even playing field. We're all in the water. Everyone's got to fight for themselves. So it was good when I was younger because I was like, all right, I'm like everybody else. Everyone else is struggling, and here I am, floating. It's easy. It's not that bad. So for me, it was like, it's because I loved being in the water and I loved swimming. So once I sort of remembered it, I started to enjoy it all again. And yeah, after 3 months of like, twiddling my thumbs of deciding whether I'd go back to competition, I'd done a few open water swims purely because they were fun. And then I raced at state championships at the end of that year after my wife had given birth, actually, like 4 days prior. I went to state champs and did my 400 free just to see whether I would enjoy going back to competition. And then I finished the race and I was like, nah, still got some mongrel in there. We're going to keep going. So just purely because like all of a sudden, like I think I ended up racing on like 3 hours sleep, and I just
Thank you, Brody.
Yeah, I got in and I was like, oh, nah, this is fun. This is why I'm out here and I'm having fun and literally just swinging my arms around and I get to have a bit of a swim. So, and then I was like, who gives a crap about the medals at this point? Just purely do it to have some fun. And
went back to being play.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the last couple of years, every time I approach my races, it's just like, I'm just here to have fun. I've got nothing to lose anymore. I've got nothing to prove to anyone. Like, I've already proved myself. I'm in the green and gold. So just get in and have some fun along the way.
So your category is S9.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody what that means? Who are you up against when you get over to Paris in just a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, so S9 is... it's very particular now and specific. So it could be an amputee of some sort, whether it be leg or arm. It's usually at least like half a leg, three quarters, maybe half between 3/4 and 3/4, or like some missing digits and toes or feet, a combination of both, that sort of stuff. You've also got a varying degree of like impact from CP, that sort of stuff, like nerve weaknesses, muscle weaknesses within the leg. All of these are obviously tested by, certified physios and everything. So they put all those sort of people together, and we're all in the S9. So when we all get up on the block, we're all not going to look like missing leg amp people. So unfortunately, that's sort of just the way Paralympic sport is, how classes work. So they try to do their best to make sure that everyone's pretty much on an even playing field, which makes perfect sense. So, good competition at the moment through Europe. A lot of strong European swimmers through France, Italy, Spain, I want to say Belgium and Germany. All those guys, they're pumping out some strong swimmers. So, and then you never count China out as well. So somehow they rock up at a Paralympic Games and they come out of nowhere.
Somehow?
Somehow it's amazing. But yeah, it makes it good. It makes it like fierce and fun competition. And I think that's what is exciting with Paralympic sport, that like a lot of people are learning to like step up and find new ways and making it more competitive. And if we make it more competitive, we make it more exciting. And if it's more exciting, more people are willing to watch. And if more people are willing to watch, then we can kind of, get a bigger backing behind it. And so hopefully by like Brisbane 2032, every event will be sold out.
Well, just on that, 8 years' time, we'll have the Olympics, Paralympics here on the Sunshine Coast. How do you want to be involved in that?
Oh,
the Mayor of Nambour by then?
Yeah. Oh, probably not. Probably not. Politics isn't my area. But look, I would love to be involved in any way, shape or form, whether it's to do with organising, whether it's to do with the Olympic team, with the Paralympic team, whether it's in physio, whether it's a deputy chef de mission or something like that. Like literally anything. I think it'd be something invaluable to sort of be a part of. And not only that, it's kind of like, I think it'll probably show my kids just be like, there are other opportunities out there to sort of be involved in sport, even if they don't go down the sporting pathway. If you work hard enough at something, hopefully you can, go and work in the media part in the sport, or you can go and be a journo. You can, be behind the camera guy. Like, there's so many different parts and components of this big, gigantic wheel of Olympic and Paralympic sport. And I just feel like if I can jump on any spoke of that wheel to be a part of it, I will, no matter what.
I've got lasting memories from the Sydney Olympic Games. It was my first Paralympic Games that I attended. And I had nieces and nephews and cousins. We had this huge tribe of Armstrongs in Sydney. And we just went to almost every single event we possibly could be. The Australian Games in Sydney just absolutely changed the dynamic of how we could experience the Paralympic Games as a family and a tribe.
Yep.
And I'm really hoping 2032 is again that throwback where we get as many Australian families as possible.
Yeah.
What's your expectations around that, mate? You're a Nambour boy, born and bred, and the games are coming to the Sunshine Coast. What do you think you will feel? What do you want the Paralympic emblems on your chest right there to leave after experiencing the Sunshine Coast? What do you think we've got to offer?
Well, I just feel like when you get to that point, like every athlete wants to compete at a home games purely because as an individual, as a spectator, as society, and as Australians, sport is like literally in our DNA, whether we're disabled or not. And it's just this fact, you get this immense feeling of indescribable pride. Like it's the easiest way to put it. And to know that, the Sunshine Coast is going to be an important part of those games. And, there are definitely families out there who wouldn't be able to not afford or be able to, work out the travel to get to Brisbane to watch parts, and to know that there'll be things on the Sunshine, based on the Sunshine Coast. There'll be teams trained on the Sunshine Coast. Like, it'll be amazing. I don't think a lot of those teams, and I don't even think the organisers have really thought yet, or even some of the people in the area have thought, well, wait a minute, this is going to be like a tide-shifting event. Like, you think Sydney was big for people in Australia. You think Gold Coast 2018 as Com Games was quite big. Like, people were amazed by the power of sport events that they've got, like the Com Games, and people were like, oh, wow, has this been around for a while? It's like, yeah, we've been in the Com Games for a while. So they're like, oh, we've just never seen it. I was like, you don't, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's normal. Like, it's... And that's where we want it to be. So and then not only that, hopefully some people can take the opportunity to witness firsthand murder ball, wheelchair rugby. You think, oh, there's some Olympians out there, and rugby sevens, that's fast, that's hard. Come to a wheelchair rugby game. That stuff is brutal. People will end up with a broken shoulder if they're not careful. So it's exciting.
And it's hard to get into, right?
That's really also hard to get into, and I'm like, that's too many injuries for me.
You'll have to build up those little skinny arms, mate.
Yeah, so it's exciting to know that. So my kids will be at an age where they'll realise the importance and the impact of watching these athletes compete at those games, and hopefully my oldest, if he gets interested in sport, maybe going towards that pathway.
It's a non-negotiable, isn't it?
It's I kind of want it to be, but I'm also I'm happy for him to go anywhere. But if he goes surfing or golfing, sure, mate, let's go for it. That's good. It's something a little bit different. But yeah, I think it'll be really exciting because I get to be hopefully a spectator, hopefully be involved in the game somehow. Not only that, everyone's children, and my children especially, get to experience how significant and how much impact Olympic and Paralympics athletes have on motivating all of us to just maybe go for a walk one day.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you're painting a fantastic picture, Brendan, of what the Sunshine Coast could possibly be in 8 years' time, all while getting ready for the Paralympics, your fifth games, in just a couple of weeks' time. So we just want to say thank you so much for your time on the Podium podcast. Fran and I are just absolutely privileged to speak to you before you head off to Paris. Have a fantastic games. Enjoy the flag bearing. We're going to be watching, and we're just going to be cheering you on, mate. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.